It began as a peaceful afternoon among the limestone hills and quiet streams of the Texas Hill Country. Families enjoyed riverside picnics, campers listened to the breeze through cedar trees, and everything seemed typical for the early July weekend. But something was stirring in the skies. Far above the hills, a mass of tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico collided with a sluggish cold front, and the result was nothing less than a disaster in waiting.
A stinky mud puddle to you and me, but to the inhabitants of Bikini Bottom, a wonderful.
Forecasters noticed the pattern, a mesoscale convective vortex, enhanced by remnant tropical moisture, hovered over the same region for hours. Rain rates surged. More than 10 inches of rain fell in mere hours across Kerr, Queen, and Kendall counties. In some pockets, the rainfall exceeded 20 inches, over 500 millimeters. The ground was already hardened after drought, unable to absorb the torrent. Instead, the rain raced across slopes into canyons and creeks. Rivers that normally rose gradually exploded in a matter of minutes. Residents of the Guadalupe River Basin had lived near this river for generations, camped by its banks, swam its waters, trusted its slow currents. On July 4th, early in the morning, the Guadalupe rose by more than 20 feet in under an hour. In one location, the river gauge recorded a jump of nearly 9 meters in about 45 minutes. The warnings came, but many had gone to bed, unaware. The sound of rushing water awakened them, or did not. At a historic summer camp near the river, tent cabins filled with girls on break faced a wall of water. Camp Mystic, nestled by the river in Texas Hill Country, became ground zero. Parents rushed to contact the camp, but phone lines failed. The campers woke to chaos. Trees collapsed, cabins collapsed, the river consumed the shoreline. More than 20 children and their counselors were swept away in the darkness. When dawn broke, the hill country looked like a war zone. Roads had vanished under mud, bridges lay cursed by twisted steel, houses perched on hillsides floated like debris. Taken by surprise, more than 100 people had died. In Kerr County alone, more than 100 fatalities were confirmed, many of them children. The statewide death toll exceeded 130, with dozens still missing. Entire communities were cut off. Mud, water, wreckage blocked every route. Rescue and recovery teams mobilized quickly. National Guard units deployed high water vehicles. Helicopters hovered over flooded valleys. Volunteers waded through waist-deep currents, pulling strangers from rooftops. One father swam across a raging creek, clutching his daughter. Firefighters worked 48-hour shifts without sleep, ignoring hunger and exhaustion. Yet despite heroic efforts, thousands remained displaced, thousands of homes destroyed, farms ruined. The terrain amplified the disaster. Known as Flash Flood Alley, the Texas Hill Country has steep slopes, narrow valleys, rocky soils. The rain that fell could not soak in, it ran off. The ground, baked by months of drought and made hydrophobic, threw rainwater into channels with extreme speed. The river that should have crept rose like a monster. Gauges at Comfort, Texas recorded discharges that matched 60% of the Mississippi River at St. Louis on that same day. Entire subdivisions, campsites, roads were within the flood footprint. Economic losses stunned the region. Preliminary estimates from expert analysis put damage between $18 billion to $22 billion US. In Kerr County, the impact on property tax rolls alone was over $200 million lost in value. Over 3,900 residential properties in Kerr County lay in the real flood footprint. Across the region, over 38,000 residential structures were potentially impacted. Flood insurance coverage inland was as low as 2% in some counties. Farms lost harvests, agricultural equipment was destroyed, ranches evacuated. Amid the rubble, though, the human story shone through. Neighbors rowed boats across flooded ranches to rescue livestock. A local swim coach carried an elderly man through chest-deep water to higher ground. Churches became shelters. Volunteers delivered hot meals and blankets. One volunteer said, "We lost everything, but we didn't lose each other." The message echoed across a battered land. Still, the physical scars ran deep. Entire hillsides collapsed, depositing silt and debris into streams. Saltwater intrusion threatened aquifers near the coast. Wildlife habitats for endangered species were flooded or destroyed. Infrastructure repair would take years. Collapsed bridges, ruined treatment plants, twisted electrical grids. The societal cost went beyond homes and farms. It threatened the fabric of rural communities that had stood for generations. As for climate context, scientists now say storms like this will become more frequent and more intense. Warmer air holds more moisture. Slower moving systems drop greater rainfall totals over the same area. What was once a once-in-a-century event may now occur every few years.
Per l'ennesima volta, dopo 10 anni, comune di riposto. Il tetto è alto più di 2 metri. A 4 secondi.
The hill country disaster is a warning for regions far beyond Texas. Geography matters, but so does readiness. The victims will rebuild, the hills will heal, but the memory remains. A little girl rescued from that camp now visits other youth groups, telling of the day the river rose and how they survived. Ranchers pick up the pieces of flooded fields. Small towns reopen their general stores with signs reading, "We will rise again." Nature unleashed its fury in the hill country, tearing away everything built, everything trusted. But it could not erase the courage of the people. For in the darkest hours, as darkness closed in and water filled homes, humanity held on. And when the sun began to rise on the ruined landscape, the people stood tall, ready to rebuild, ready to face the next flood. Because when the river roars like thunder and the hills become islands, what defines us is not the storm, but how we respond. The Texas hill country may never be the same, but through grit and grace, it will endure. If this story moved you, if you felt the power of nature and the courage of those who faced it, then help us spread awareness. Every like, every share, every comment gives strength to voices that might otherwise go unheard. At Cataclysm TV, we bring you real stories of hurricanes, floods, and natural disasters from across the globe, not just to show destruction, but to reveal the resilience that rises from it. These are not just breaking news headlines. They are human stories, of families rebuilding, of communities standing together, of a planet changing before our eyes. By supporting this channel, you become part of a movement to understand and adapt to a world growing more extreme every year. When you share these videos, you're helping others prepare, survive, and stay informed. Subscribe to Cataclysm TV and turn on notifications to stay updated on our latest reports and documentaries. Because knowledge is power, And in the face of nature's fury, awareness can save lives. Together, we can transform fear into understanding and chaos into courage.